On the edge of a small coastal village stood an old, weathered lighthouse. It was tall and proud, with its bright white paint peeling from years of salty winds and crashing waves. The villagers often spoke about how the lighthouse had guided countless ships to safety over the years, but now it stood cold and lifeless. An old man named Henry lived in the lighthouse. He had been the keeper for as long as anyone could remember. Henry was kind but quiet, and he rarely ventured into the village. He would sit by the window of the lighthouse every night, looking out at the endless sea, remembering the days when the light shone brightly, saving lives. But the lighthouse's light had gone out years ago after a terrible storm. Despite Henry's best efforts, he couldn't fix it. The villagers believed the lighthouse had lost its magic, and many sailors stopped trusting it for guidance. One evening, dark clouds rolled in over the horizon. The wind howled through the village, and the sea became wild and dangerous. A fierce storm was approaching. Henry stood at the top of the lighthouse, peering out into the dark ocean. He could see a ship in the distance, struggling against the powerful waves. Henry knew that without the lighthouse's light, the ship would crash into the rocky shore. Panic filled his chest. He rushed to the old lantern at the top of the tower and tried to light it, but nothing happened. "Please," Henry whispered, his hands trembling. "Just this once. Help me save them." Just as Henry was about to lose hope, a soft glow began to fill the room. Henry turned and saw a faint light coming from an old glass crystal mounted above the lantern. The glow grew brighter and brighter until the entire room was bathed in golden light. Henry's eyes widened as the lighthouse's beam shot out into the storm, cutting through the darkness like a sword. The sailors on the ship saw the light and steered away from the jagged rocks, finding their way safely to the harbor. The storm slowly calmed, and the village was saved. Henry stood breathless at the top of the lighthouse, tears streaming down his face. The next morning, the villagers gathered at the lighthouse. They had seen the light and knew Henry had saved the ship. "You've saved us all," said an old fisherman, shaking Henry's hand. Henry smiled, but his eyes were still on the crystal. He suddenly remembered that it had belonged to his father, who had been the previous lighthouse keeper. His father always told him, "The light of the lighthouse is not just in the lantern. It's in the heart of the one who keeps it burning." Henry realized then that the lighthouse had never lost its magic. It had been waiting for him to believe in it again. Moral of the story: believe in yourself even when things seem impossible. Sometimes the strength you need is already within you. You just have to find it.